Welcome to ClassAct. Our guest today is Mr. John Pennant-Jones of Oceanside, California. Mr. Pennant-Jones is the owner of Amarillo, the franchisor of Burger Kings in both Amarillo and Lubbock, Texas. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about your restaurant holdings.
Well, we have a pretty large company. Right now we have 7 Burger Kings in Lubbock, we have 6 in Amarillo, and looking to actually add a couple more in the next year, and the same thing in Lubbock. On top of this, we started a steakhouse chain about 6 years ago, and we have 4 steakhouses. We're also the TGI Friday franchisee in San Antonio. And then we have a whole bunch of related companies like Paradigm Investment Company, which provides the financing and the money for our growth, because we believe if you're not growing, you're dying, so we are always trying to grow. We have Paradigm Realty, which owns the land underneath the properties. We have a bunch of websites that are on AdSense, so when people go and look at the information on these websites, AdSense sends us about 2 or 3 cents for every time somebody clicks on them, and that's another $1,500 a month. A few shillings here, helps here and there, you know. And then we have some very slow race horses, and I have a very good friend and partner who also owns about 90 Hardee's. So between the two of us, I should mention we also got a few additional partners, like in the steakhouses and the Paradigm Investing, and they have franchises in Panera Bread, Fazoli's, and Burger King in Nevada, Arizona, another bunch. And even if you're interested in football, Dean Spanos, who is the owner of the San Diego Chargers, is one of our partners in the steakhouses. So we have a very broad business going on, probably $140 to $160 million a year. I'm taking too much of your time. It's a long answer. I don't mean to be this long, but it's just a place that we believe if somebody comes and joins us at any position, there is unlimited growth. There is no ceiling.
What are some of the big trends these days in fast food?
Well, it's really amazing how fast technology is keeping up with fast food. This month we're going to be installing, for example, all television screens in every Burger King instead of these plastic menu boards you've seen for the last 40 years. Our point-of-sale system is high-tech with all the necessary firewalls in place. It is just everything that you see in fast food now is technology-driven, and probably caused by the minimum wage, where you're putting more and more emphasis on automation. But at the same time, we've got to have those super people coming in, because without the people, we're just a building.
Well, how has fast food changed during your 17 years of involvement?
I think that the major change has been the emphasis on speed of service, but the bottom line has never changed, and that is it's the food stupid. Well, you must have the very best food, and without the very best food, you're just going to come and go. You've seen so many of these companies come and go. So with all the changes of this and that, I think we're trying to have better people running the place, and we're trying to keep this food quality absolutely superb. And after that, of course, it's all of the controls and things that are in place to make sure that everybody who's working in that restaurant is a qualified person who's passed the right tests.
Fast food has been quick to adapt to changes in the marketplace through the years, like adding breakfast items, indoor seating, I know that goes way back, even non-traditional locations. What kinds of changes do you see coming ahead that will require action?
That's a very difficult question, because obviously I'd have done it already if I could see ahead that well. But I do see that a lot of the mistakes of the past, like all the indoor playgrounds and things that came like that, and the outdoor playgrounds, the maintenance of them was very, very difficult. The hygiene of keeping them hygienic and stuff was a very, very expensive thing. I would say in the future, though, the drive-in is going to become more and more important. I think it's just going to be, as I said earlier, technology-driven. And although I don't foresee what the technology is, right now you're seeing it with a lot of these little QSR logos, or whatever you call them, that you use for scanning, that you can now scan with your iPod, and you can get the complete menu for a Burger King, and you know exactly what you're getting, or a restaurant. You'll see more and more of this interface with the smart technologies of tomorrow.
What types of careers in fast food management are available for business students these days?
Well, I personally think, having had a lifetime, I'm not exactly a young pup anymore, but what I see is that there is absolutely no ceiling for the ambitious young man or woman coming into the fast food industry. Fast food's got a terrible reputation. It's all spotty little 16-year-olds sitting in there making hamburgers. Their friends sneer at them, oh, you're working at fast food. And that people just do not understand that that is something of the past. What we're looking for is the young, dynamic people who come in, who will rapidly advance. They'll go past, they won't even come in at minimum wage because somebody will come in at where we feel they fit. But let's say they start at the bottom. If they're even good, they show up to work, they're friendly, they're team members, within 2 months they're going to be earning $10 an hour instead of the minimum wage of $7.25. Within 8 months, if they're pretty good, and they passed all of the tests, and there are a lot of tests in fast food. You don't just get to go into the back of the shop and say, okay, you must pass the handling test, the safety test, all of these tests have to be passed. But let's say within 8 months, you're an assistant manager making somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 a year, which isn't bad for a student at college. Within 2 years, the very best can become a general manager of a store. Now they're making $35,000 to $60,000 a year coming out of school. Not too shabby, but the thing that we're looking for is the guy who then wants to advance past that, become a district manager. He's into six figures. He's over $100,000 a year. But then coming into our array of companies and even bringing us ideas. But the other thing, and don't think this is, have I gone too far in the answering your question? I just think that people that come out of fast food industry running a store, they are running $1 million to $2 million business. Anybody that can run a $2 million business is an absolute gold. I mean, he is gold in any industry. If you have that on your resume and you go in, you know operations, you know labor scheduling, you know problem solving, things like sexual harassment, for example. Can you recognize it before it happens, or if it does, do you know what to do about it? Stealing. People, I mean, any cash business, there is a tendency for people to want to borrow money from you and not pay you back. And, you know, problem solving. Profit, financials. You're running a financial business of $1 million or $2 million. Experience you can't get anywhere else. You might be doing this when you're 24 years old. I mean, what a background.
So, what kinds of upward advancement possibilities are there, and can you make a career out of this?
Let me give you an example. My partner, Don Wallen, absolutely wonderful. We've been partners for years and years and years, never had a single thing. He came from a poor family. He went to the University of Nevada, Reno, where he took the casino management degree. He worked his way through college at Denny's as a fast order cook in the back. He then left Denny's and went to work for corporate Burger King, and at 27 was the youngest vice president they've ever had, running Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and I think the western part of Texas. When they got bought out by a British big conglomerate called, I can't remember, Grand Metropolitan, they bought Pillsbury. Pillsbury owned Burger King at the time. Don left, bought with me, we bought some stores in California, sold those, went to San Antonio, bought more stores, but now we've settled down into the situation I told you before. And this man who started as a fast order cook at Denny's is now running 92 Hardee's, and on top of that he's got a partnership with me in everything except my Burger King. So if you want a success story, how far can you go? The sky is the limit. And one other thing I would tell you is that if you look at all of the major people running these stores, you know, the CEOs of Starbucks and Burger King, I think 27% of those started off as crew members somewhere, and they're making multi-million-dollar salaries.
What's the basic job description for a recent grad going to work for you?
that there is not really a job description, there's more a job requirement, if you like. And the job requirement is, first of all, you've got to like people, and if you like people, people like you. That's the first thing. You've got to be a high energy individual. And you've got to have the ambition to succeed in life. Given those three things, we can provide the training, we can provide the money to back you up. In fact, if you're really good, join us, and your ambition is to open your own French restaurant, we can probably set you up into doing that. Of course, we'll own a piece of your business, but even so, I mean, so the requirement is really, it's very much like in Julius Caesar, when Cassius and Brutus are off to the side and they're sort of conniving against Julius Caesar, and Cassius turns to Brutus and says, "Our future, our fortune, dear Brutus, lies not within our stars, but within ourselves." And that is very true of the sort of people we're looking for. Their future lies within themselves. There are no outside influences, there's no ceiling. You're not going into a company where you've got to wait for the guy ahead of you to resign or change jobs or anything. There is no ceiling, there is no limit.
Do you see any emerging fast food formats that have yet to be developed?
No, I think it's a continuous thing. I mean, you can go into any town. Amarillo is a good example, or Canyon here is a very good example. Just drive down the main street. You'll see all of the majors on the main street, and then you'll see all of the local stores. And no, I don't see any trend other than that the competition is continuous. The size of the market does not change. So anybody coming into the marketplace, the only way they can get a piece of the marketplace is to eat something from everybody else in that marketplace. So you're always like piranha, you're always trying to get the piece of somebody else. And people come in, they die, they go away, they come and go. The strong survive just in life.
Would you say then that we tend to be maybe a little overstored in terms of the number of outlets out there? Because I see that you are very confident and you know what needs to be done. And yet I see so many restaurants opening here, everywhere else, that you often wonder, how in the world can all these survive?
Yeah, I think that is a very true statement. I don't know how they survive. I know how we have to survive. We have to get young people coming out of college to get into our business, to upgrade the staff so that we are the fastest, we have the best tasting food, and we have the best people. And not necessarily in that order, although, as I said earlier, it always comes down to the food. So in answer to your question, I believe if you have any concept and you start any business, if you have the best food and the best people, you also need the location and all the other things that go with it. But the ones who will survive, or at least last longest, are the people with the best food and the best people running them, I think.
What words of wisdom can you give my students as they prepare for their careers?
I don't think I can give anybody words of wisdom. I would just say, forget, in my industry, in the fast food industry, I would just say, forget the stigma. Forget about it. Come and try and see how good you are. Because if you are good, we will recognize it. And if we recognize it, you will feel that tremendous confidence grow in you. And I can only say this: if you can run $1 million business or anything, you can succeed in life. But whatever you do, the word of wisdom I have is, whatever you do, enjoy it. You've got to really love what you're doing. Otherwise, you cannot succeed. You can't succeed if you don't love going to work every morning and doing the thing you're doing. I love it. Shit, I'm 72 years old and I'm still working, and I'm going to do this until the day I drop. I can't help it. I've had a wonderful life. I've loved it. That's what I would say to people. Enjoy life. Love it. And that's that's me. That's all I can say.
Great. Well, Mr. Pennant Jones, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've given a lot of good words of advice for my students, and again, thank you, and I hope you have a pleasant stay here. Back to you.